5 long years had passed since Nathan Cross had left behind the painful memories of Missouri, where sickness had cruelly taken his entire family from him. Now, his small wooden cabin rested quietly in a secluded valley, a place so hidden that almost no travelers ever stumbled upon it. For Nathan, this isolation was not just a choice, it was a necessity, a way to protect the fragile peace he had built after so much loss. But on this particular afternoon, as Nathan walked toward his home, his sharp eyes caught something unusual. A thin column of smoke was rising from the direction of a smaller cabin about a mile down the valley. That cabin belonged to Henderson, an old trapper who spent his winters working the icy streams. Nathan's stomach tightened. Something was wrong. Then his gaze shifted to his own cabin. There, near the roof, a figure was moving, someone who did not belong. His grip on his rifle instinctively firmed, though he did not raise it. Who was this person? Friend or enemy? He had no way of knowing. Moving carefully, Nathan stepped closer. The figure became clearer. A young woman, perhaps in her early 20s, with long tangled blonde hair and a torn brown dress that had seen better days. She was balanced unsteadily on the edge of his roof, as if trying to reach for something. Or maybe hiding from someone. "Ma'am," Nathan called out, keeping his voice low and steady, making sure not to startle her. "Are you hurt? Do you need help getting down from there?" The woman turned her head, her eyes wide with a mix of terror and sheer exhaustion. Dirt and dark smudges of soot covered her face and clothes, telling a story of struggle. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Please, are you alone?" "I don't know who I can trust anymore." Nathan understood fear. He had lived with it long enough. Slowly, he set his rifle down and raised his hands, palms open, to show he meant no harm. "Yes, ma'am, I am alone. My name is Nathan Cross, and this is my cabin. You're safe here. Let me help you down." For a long moment she studied his face, searching for any sign of deceit. Then, with painful slowness, she began to inch her way toward the edge of the roof. Nathan positioned himself below, ready to catch her if she slipped. It was clear she was injured. Her movements were stiff, cautious, as if every step sent a jolt of pain through her body. Once she was safely on the ground, Nathan could see the extent of her injuries, a bandaged arm, dark bruises peeking out from beneath the torn fabric of her dress, and a look in her eyes that spoke of horrors she had endured. "My name is Sarah," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "Last night, I was staying with Mr. Henderson while traveling through to Oregon. His cabin was attacked by a group of men who had been following me. Mr. Henderson told me to run while he tried to hold them off." A cold dread settled in Nathan's chest. Henderson was a good man, a kind soul who didn't deserve this. "What happened to him?" he asked. Though he already feared the answer, Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know. I heard gunshots after I ran. I climbed onto your roof because I saw riders searching the valley. I was so afraid they would find me." Nathan's jaw clenched as he looked toward the smoke still rising from Henderson's cabin. Anger burned inside him. Violence had no place in this peaceful valley. "Sarah," he asked, his voice firm but gentle, "why were these men tracking you? Are you running from the law?" She shook her head quickly, her expression desperate. "No, nothing like that. Back in Kansas, I was married to a man who seemed kind at first, but he turned out to be violent and dangerous. When I tried to leave, he threatened to kill me. I've been traveling west, trying to get far enough away that he can't find me." Nathan studied her face. He saw honesty there, and the deep, haunting fear of someone who had been truly terrified. "How did he find you here?" Sarah's hands trembled. "He hired men to track me. They've been following me for weeks. I thought I had lost them when I met Mr. Henderson, but somehow they found us." Nathan made a decision in that moment, one that would change both of their lives forever. "Sarah, you're safe now. Those men won't find you here. And if they try, they'll have to deal with me first. Over the days that followed, as Nathan helped Sarah recover from her ordeal, he began to learn more about her. She had been married at just 18 to a man who had seemed charming and successful, but who had gradually revealed himself to be controlling and cruel. When she finally found the courage to leave, he had sworn to hunt her down, no matter how far she ran. But Sarah was not just a victim. She was intelligent, resourceful, and incredibly strong. She helped around the cabin without being asked, proving to be an excellent cook even with limited supplies. She also showed a surprising knowledge of wilderness survival, skills that impressed Nathan deeply. One evening as they sat by the fire, Nathan spoke softly. "Sarah, I've been thinking about your situation. These mountains are vast, and there are places where a person could disappear completely, start a new life where no one would ever think to look." Sarah looked at him, her eyes filled with a flicker of hope. "What do you mean?" Nathan met her gaze. "I mean that Nathan Cross could help a woman named Sarah disappear, and maybe, just maybe, help someone new begin again with a different name in a place where no one would ever find her." Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes. "Nathan, why would you help me? You barely know me." He looked at her, this brave woman who had endured so much, yet still carried kindness in her heart. "Because everyone deserves the chance to live without fear. And because Henderson was my friend, I suspect he died trying to protect you." In the months that followed, Sarah did begin a new life in Nathan's hidden valley. She took the name Mary Henderson, honoring the man who had sacrificed everything to help her escape. Nathan taught her advanced survival skills, how to hunt, fish, and defend herself if she was ever threatened again. But more than just survival, they discovered something unexpected in each other. Nathan's loneliness, which had weighed on him for years, began to fade in Sarah's warm and intelligent company. And Sarah, who had lived in constant fear for so long, found a sense of security and purpose she had never known before. 1 year later, on a beautiful spring morning with wildflowers blooming across the valley, Nathan and Sarah were married by a traveling preacher who had stopped at their cabin. They exchanged vows not just of love, but of protection and partnership, promising to build a life together where neither would ever have to face the world alone again. "You know," Sarah said to Nathan one evening as they stood together on their cabin porch, looking out over the peaceful valley that had become their sanctuary, "I used to think that running away was cowardly. But sometimes running away from the wrong life is the bravest thing you can do." Nathan smiled, thinking about how his solitary existence had been transformed by this remarkable woman's courage. "And sometimes," he replied softly, "the person you're running toward is worth more than anything you left behind." 5 years later, Nathan and Sarah had built a thriving homestead in their hidden valley. They raised cattle, grew crops, and had become known throughout the region for their kindness to travelers and their willingness to help those in need. Their cabin had become an unofficial sanctuary, a place where people who needed a fresh start could find hope. One evening, as they watched their young son playing in the yard, Sarah turned to Nathan. "You saved my life that day when you helped me down from your roof." Nathan shook his head, pulling her close. "No, Sarah, we saved each other. You reminded me that a life worth living is one that is shared with someone who understands that the past doesn't have to define the future." As the sun set over their peaceful valley, Nathan reflected on how a chance encounter with a desperate woman on his roof had taught him the most valuable lesson of all. Sometimes the greatest strength doesn't come from standing alone, but from standing with someone whose courage matches your own. Together, they had built a life stronger than anything either could have achieved alone.